Welcome everyone to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and this has been an exceptional week and a half, and to talk all about the hunt for Ben Solo continued, I have a very special guest, Rachel. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Hi, Marie-Claire. It's very nice to be podcasting about Star Wars again. Just to establish who I am for anyone who might not know me, my name is Rachel. I did a panel with Marie-Claire and Laurie at Star Wars Celebration in 2023 about like the mythology of Star Wars, with like a particular focus on the sequel trilogy and the trajectory of the characters in that story. And I used to co-host a podcast called Scavenger's Hoard, which is sadly on indefinite hiatus. But I have not lost my love for Star Wars. I still care about it very much. And I was very, very excited about all this Ben Solo news. And so when Marie-Claire very kindly reached out and asked if I wanted to be on her podcast, that was a very easy yes. So yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Your insight, your understanding of theme, your understanding of media is second to none. In fact, on Twitter, somebody legitimately was like, I wonder when Scavenger's Hoard will post an episode. Unfortunately, I can't bring the whole duo together, the dyad of Scavenger's Hoard, but I can bring you Rachel today, yes. And I'm very happy to have you here.
Yeah, no, thank you. Kirsty would say hi.
Oh, amazing. This news has been kind of, I don't know, insane. I don't have a better word for it. It feels so wild that it's 2025 and we're here. What was your reaction to the news, Rachel? Where were you when you heard this? I've been asking everybody this.
So it was really late in the UK when the article came out. And I remember just seeing a screenshot, I think, first of all, before I saw the link or where it was from. And I think my first reaction was just disbelief, where I just looked at it and I was like, oh God, guys, come on. And, so I'm used to like Reylos, and I'm a Reylo. I'm not being derogatory when I say that. I'm used to Reylos basically like doing fan fiction about like what could happen if they actually continued Ben's story, and what if Adam Driver actually wanted to do it. But we'd got various like context clues and signals over the years that very strongly suggested Adam Driver had literally no interest in coming back to that role. So I just scoffed the first time I saw it. And then, 5 minutes later, I checked again, and literally every single post in my feed was about the interview and the comments Adam said. No. And then I actually looked into it more seriously, and I realized there was a link, and that link led to Associated Press. And I was like, oh my God, I don't think Associated Press would make this up.
Yeah.
So then I clicked on the link, and I actually read the full interview of Adam. And I was honestly just flabbergasted, because I never would have imagined that Adam Driver would come back to the role, and even beyond that, actually be the one taking the initiative to try and make a sequel project with Ben Solo happen. So it was genuinely mind-blowing. And I literally just spent a couple of hours when I should have been sleeping, just lying in bed going like, what the fuck? Sorry, you don't need to edit that out. You probably need to.
It's okay.
Sorry.
That's how we all feel right now, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I literally just couldn't believe it. It was craziness. Mad town. Yeah.
And this past week, as more and more things have been coming out, or the fandom has reacted, even I would say Star Wars YouTube has reacted. How have you felt? What have you been thinking?
It's definitely been like a roller coaster of emotions, because obviously that initial article from AP is like a mix of good and bad, right? Mm-hmm. Because obviously you have the good in that there's this realization that, holy crap, Adam genuinely loves this character. And he really put in a hell of a lot of work and effort to try and bring Ben back, to the point of finding a director and being very actively involved in the creative development. And for me, all those things are incredibly positive. And then that's sort of tempered by the frustration over the fact it got shot down by Disney. But then obviously I've been buoyed by some of the subsequent things. I've seen like an awful, a huge amount of fan support for the project. And obviously there's so much like love and passion for that character out there, not just from Raylos even, you know, just from like the wider Star Wars fandom, and even people I'd classify as more like casual Star Wars fans. As a character who resonated with people. And you even find a lot of people who maybe didn't love the sequel trilogy overall, but they'll single out Adam's performance and that character as being parts of those films that they really loved and that they would be really keen to see more of. So it's definitely been a journey with like ups and downs, but I feel like I'm ultimately in quite an optimistic place, because I think for me, in how I was thinking about the end of Tross and like any possible continuation of that story from the sequels, I was always having to just resign myself in my head to the fact that Kylo Ren / Ben Solo wasn't going to be part of that continuation. And now I realize it seems extremely likely that he will be when they get to that point. And it's just a question of what that continuation will look like and when we will get that continuation, because I really want it sooner rather than later, but that's a huge question mark depending on so many factors, right? So yeah, lots of big feelings. Lots of feelings. Yeah.
You know what I'm also finding? I'm reliving things I've experienced over the last 6 years. Like
I can see that.
I'm remembering when I recorded like a deranged video in my car about how when you have a mythology and you have a dying god character, which Ben Solo classifies as a Skywalker, you end up that you have to believe they are dead for them to return.
Yes.
It's a common motif in mythology. Like think Jesus, right? 3 days, he was dead in his grave, returned, right?
Sure.
That sort of idea. And I was like, I recorded that crazy video basically saying if Lucasfilm and Disney want Ben Solo to return, he will. And I just put it out there as like this deranged thought, because I had no doubt that he would return if there was a desire to have him return. There is nothing standing in the way, except there kind of was. And that to me is so wild. And we'll get into that as we deep dive into the actual details of everything, which I didn't get a chance to do in my last podcast, really, because it was more feelings and vibes.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm very happy to be super analytical, because that's my favorite mode of being. Yeah.
I love it. It also feels like we're mystery hunters a little bit, trying to figure out what is happening.
Yeah. We're Indiana Jones in the situation.
Exactly. Do we have our like Ben Solo doll that we can replace with the Ben Solo that we can steal back from the temple?
Oh God. I'm not sure I'm fit enough to do those ideas.
He's too big. Like, yeah. Do we have a forklift to lift him? Overall, this last week has actually been a lot of energy and joy for me. I've really, really enjoyed keeping up with the news and seeing how creative Raylos are, how they're reacting to this, how much hope has sprung forth. And oh my gosh, Raylos, you are so funny. The humor has come back to the fandom in full force. And I know this is only a subset of us. I know that. There are more of you out there that are cautiously waiting for the news to actually be official. And that's okay. I'm going to say you're valid. We have been burned by Disney before. We have been burned by the franchise before. It's valid to wait and see how it plays out. But I do think that people's voices do matter, and saying what you want does matter. So in the bare minimum, be brave enough to do that.
Yeah, I think now is the time to be loud about it and to express an interest in this project and to be mad at Disney for not greenlighting it. Obviously, without crossing the line into violence or criminal behavior, because I would never endorse that.
Exactly.
But yeah, make it clear that you're unhappy and that you'd very much like them to greenlight this project with great swiftness and efficiency. So thank you very much.
I love you.
That's probably the most English way possible to try and rally the troops.
I also think that creative and positive actions are absolutely within within the bounds of everything, like what we will be talking about in a moment with all of the different fan actions, and even just searching for evidence that these things are connected and part of a larger story, as this fandom is so good at doing, like rereading stuff, looking at stuff. I have been the troublemaker of 2 such incidences this last week that have now caused multiple articles to be written by different organizations.
Ooh, will we come to those later? That's exciting.
Yes, we will, because
Okay.
I can trace back when they started to my tweets.
Wow, that's incredible. You're like a criminologist. I love it.
But it's wild. Everybody's interested in this. That's all I'm trying to say.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you find things that you want to talk about with regards to this, that also will get, that's news if you find stuff, you know? Whereas us just saying we want Ben Solo might not get the news cycles churning in the same way.
100%. And I just want to say something I've particularly enjoyed seeing all over my feed has just been the most like incredible artwork and creativity.
Oh, yeah.
From fans. Like I've just seen the most beautiful moving art centered around Ben and Reylo and, you know, just all the good things in this fandom. And I think that's such a beautiful way of like channeling all the big feelings that have come out from this. So yeah, I love it, guys. Keep it up. Keep channeling those feelings into joy and creativity. I think that's so important, alongside the righteous anger, which is also important. But yeah, a balance of everything.
It just proves like how beautiful this fandom is, that they take this energy and turn it into art all the time.
Yes, exactly. They're taking something sad and making it into something beautiful, which I feel like is a motto of this fandom. But yeah, should we go back to where it all began and start with the AP article?
So October 20th in the evening, Adam was interviewed by AP, Jake Cole. And he interviewed Adam in his office. And it starts out with, I looked around and I saw pictures of on-set photos all around, including one of Driver and his son in the Millennium Falcon. And Driver said, a friend saw this and said, "Oh, you do care." I'm stuck on this. I'm stuck on this because it starts with Star Wars. This is press for a Jim Jarmusch movie.
Yeah. No, it's very striking because I feel like in the past there's almost been like an unspoken rule with Adam Driver interviews about other projects that you don't really bring up Star Wars, you know, because obviously that becomes a black hole taking up all the attention in the interview. And then no one really cares about what you might have to say about the Jim Jarmusch movie. For example, at that point, you know, all anyone is going to be interested in is the Star Wars stuff. So I feel like all of the framing in this article, it obviously got Adam's full support and sign off, you know, and he obviously made a conscious decision to drop this bombshell about the hunt for Ben Solo in this interview. And he must have fully known that that was going to suck all the energy and all the attention in this interview, right? You know,
it's like a black hole.
Yeah,
like,
I can't even remember much conversation about the Jarmusch movie in the article at all. I think it's barely mentioned. You know, you would hardly tell that's what's being promoted. It really is like 70% Star Wars stuff in the article. Is crazy,
and it goes into all of the things somebody, Adam or somebody, Soderberg or team or Lucasfilm themselves would want us to know.
Yes.
Detail by detail, this existed. I cared enough. Kathleen Kennedy cared enough to go after this.
Exactly. There's some very clear allegiances on display in this interview and the way it's all phrased and presented. And it's pretty clear that Adam's on team Lucasfilm and Kathy Kennedy. More accurately, they're on team Adam. And, you know, Adam's obviously recognizing that support in his comments and how he's speaking about things. And then on the other team, the opposing team, so to speak, you have Bob Iger and Alan Bergman, who are very much against the project and trying to get it cancelled. And yeah, I think it's a very bold and challenging move to put that out there, with all the names of all the key players, because that feels risky to me, because obviously someone like Bob Iger is incredibly powerful. And you'd think there would be a bit more fear and a bit more caution about specifically identifying him as the reason why your film project didn't happen, especially when they make so much point, especially when they make such a big deal out of bigging up the project and saying how awesome it was going to be. So it's basically the framing is that Bob Iger and Alan Bergman are the bad guys who have taken this really cool project away from you. Sorry, you'll never get to see it, guys. And that feels intentionally provocative and very, very deliberate. So
and we have
I feel like this must have been discussed at length with his publicist and his team and with Lucasfilm,
and
and I don't think it's conspiratorial to say that at all. Yeah.
I don't think it is either. I absolutely, this feels like he had things to say, and Jake does a really good job of saying he's talking about the state of Hollywood with concern in the article. And then it's trimmed down just to these quotes. So it's very specific. It doesn't include everything that he talked about, the state of concern about Hollywood. This is, one would call, a hit piece.
Yeah. I don't think that's an unfair characterization.
He calls out that Carrie Beck, as well as Dave Filoni, which in the fandom, there's this imaginary war that Dave Filoni hates Kathleen Kennedy and hates the sequels and wants to rewrite them all. And I mean, I've seen Dave Filoni on stage many, many times, and he loves all of Star Wars, and he tries to help make it make sense. He sometimes is less successful than others.
Sure.
But maybe this is because there's been more Disney meddling in the story and in the productions that have made certain plans that they might have had in place impossible.
Yeah. No, I think that's very likely to be the case, because obviously we were at Celebration together in 2023 and they announced 3 movie projects, and not a single one of those projects has started to film. And obviously they have filmed 2 movies subsequent to that celebration, but they're not the movies they announced at that big fancy panel, with all the bells and whistles.
Which seems weird, considering we got to see Daisy Ridley proudly walk on stage and that room exploded.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of love and demand there and interest in that project with Ray, but it's just completely stalled. And I think just the existence of this project in itself is probably quite telling, because the timelines are very fuzzy in all the articles that have come out about this. So it's not clear when exactly Bergman and Iger came out and said no to it. But I think based on the timelines we've been given, I get the impression that those discussions about the Ben Solo movie would have very much been real and ongoing in 2023. And I think we're going to talk later about Steven Soderberg's login of Star Wars on Letterboxd, and that would completely support that. And it would suggest that active development was going on long after that point. And so if that's the case, there might have been behind the scenes reshuffling going on, because I feel like if you're going to do a Ben Solo movie and you're going to do a Rey movie, there's no world in which those movies are mutually exclusive.
No, it'd be like a duo, maybe, where we see even a crossover or something.
Yeah, they have to complement each other in some way, right? I'm not saying Rey would be a big character in Ben's movie and Ben would be a big character in Rey's movie, although I would want both of those things to be true. But at the very least, those characters are very important to each other, and they're very important to each character's development in mythology. And in Ben's case, you've got to assume it's going to be relevant to how he comes back because of the dyad and all the mythology established around that. So I don't see any way in which you tell that story without involving Rey. So I feel like this might give some insight into what was going on to cause the delays with that project in particular. And then everything ultimately has ended up being stonewalled, I think, by those senior Disney executives. So that's very
exhausting and frustrating.
Yes.
You know what? Let's talk about Steven Soderberg. He logs everything he watches and reads and consumes. And 2024, you can just go to his vlog about this. He posts it at the end of the year. And so you can go back and look at 2024. As of December 2024, he had watched the Star Wars 4K project,
Nice.
4K 77 project. He had watched The Phantom Menace twice, Return of the Jedi once, Attack of the Clones twice, Revenge of the Sith once, A New Hope twice, in addition to the original Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back once, and Andor, Solo, and Rogue One. He hadn't watched the sequels. But as of December, he had watched Empire Strikes Back and read The Making of The Empire Strikes Back. December 2024. That is less than a year ago.
Yeah, that feels very recent. So my opinion, based on the timing of this interview and those letterboxed logs from Stephen, is that it was probably shot down at some point this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like if it had happened like longer ago, I feel like why wouldn't Adam have come out with these comments earlier? Because in the later article from the playlist, it indicates that Adam and Stephen never got paid, basically, for all the development work they did on this project. And that, to me, might indicate why they are so free to speak about it, because my understanding is that if you are under an NDA, there has to be some sort of contract with like monetary compensation involved to support the NDA. That might be completely wrong. So if you're a lawyer and you know more about that than I do, please say. But yeah, I feel like he was probably released from any obligation to be quiet about it at the point they got no as a decision. So I feel like it was probably a surprisingly recent decision that they found out. But yeah, it's not completely clear.
Exactly. And I personally think that this also might tie into all of the rumors of Kathleen Kennedy stepping down in the lead up to Star Wars Celebration Japan. There was tons of rumors swirling that, she's out of here, or she's going to be gone. And then she came out very clearly and said, I'm not leaving anytime soon.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's palace politics happening, even if we're not fully aware of what exactly those politics are.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there are rumors that Kathleen Kennedy's going to be leaving early next year, but of course there's always rumors that Kathleen Kennedy is leaving Lucasfilm. So it's very difficult to take any of them seriously for that reason. It's like the boy who cried wolf at this point. I feel like she, in particular, is a very firm advocate for the sequel characters and for trying to make the best of that story, because I very much get the impression Lucasfilm are aware that The Rise of Skywalker was not satisfying, to put it kindly. And I do think there's a real desire and impetus under the current Lucasfilm leadership to put it right. And that would have been why Kathleen was reaching out to Adam and being like, look, would you be interested in coming back in some capacity? And from Adam's own account, that's what kickstarted this whole development journey for The Hunt for Ben Solo. So I feel like there is like active interest in fixing TROS, basically, and that's where this Ben Solo project came from. And I feel like my fear is that if Kathleen Kennedy does end up leaving early next year, will the new leadership at Lucasfilm have that same interest in fixing it? So that's like my primary fear, I would say, about the continuation. But then I sort of
as long as she's around and she sees it through, we're okay, because then it fixes it and establishes a future for the franchise.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like she has a real sense of ownership over the sequels for obvious reasons, because she produced all of them and she was the head of Lucasfilm for all of those movies. So I feel like there is a question mark in my mind over whether a new person would have that same level of ownership and that feeling of obligation. But at the same time, I feel like it doesn't go away as a problem, even if Kathleen Kennedy leaves. Because fundamentally, the sequels, unless you completely retcon them, which would be outrageous and stupid on so many levels, it won't happen.
Yeah.
But, you were stuck with that story, and that story involves all the fundamental fabric of what Star Wars is, and all your main characters, and all of their stories and all their mythology. So unless you try to fix the myth, and to make something like redemptive and like right
hopeful
from what we've been given, something hopeful.
Something that drives the story forward into the next generation or into the next challenge that characters in the galaxy need to handle, then you're stuck. You're stuck at this very weird endpoint.
Yeah, exactly. So they've got to fix it sooner or later, basically. And I personally think it's better to do it sooner while the actors from those sequel movies are still young enough for it to still be their story. Because I don't want it to be another situation where, like with the sequel trilogy, obviously that happened 30 years after the originals. So obviously it couldn't pick up with those same characters as the heroes anymore. They had to move into the mentor roles. And I love Rey, and I feel like there's so much left to tell about her story and about Ben's story and Finn's story and Rose's story and Poe's story, etc., that I don't want them to just be consigned to like the sage mentor roles and have no story of their own going forward. So yeah, that's really important to me. So that's
it's really important to me too. And Ben Solo, like I've spoken a lot on how important the character of Ben Solo is and represents this masculinity within our culture that needs to be healed and cannot die permanently. Rebirth, great. Coming back, amazing. Actually, that's very thematic and mythologically significant and psychologically healing. So we need that. And the story itself can move forward and smooth the rough edges of Tross very easily, in my opinion.
Yes, exactly. So I think now I know that Adam wants to come back and that he's so passionate about the character. I do feel a lot better about there being a better resolution to Ben's story and his story with Rey in particular. But yeah, I would love this particular project with Soderberg to happen, because I feel like that's such a huge endorsement from Adam for him to go out and seek collaborators that he had on previous projects, because obviously he worked with Soderberg
bringing the talent to Lucasfilm.
Yes, he worked with Soderberg on Logan Lucky, and he worked with Scott Z. Burns on The Reports. You know, so these people he personally has like respect and admiration for. I'm sure he played a big role in facilitating those conversations with Lucasfilm, like you just said. So, you know, that just shows the level of passion and investment. And based on the way he started the interview with the guy from AP, I don't think he's lost that passion or that interest.
No,
it's just, I would love it to be this
standing in the way.
Yeah, I would love it to be this Hunt for Ben Solo project, and I don't think it's completely gone away, because I do think there's a really solid fan movement out there in support of making this happen. But I feel like even if this doesn't happen, there's lots of room for him to come back in another way, in another project. So yeah, not all hope is lost, even if the Hunt for Ben Solo doesn't happen, is what I'm saying.
So, is there anything else you wanted to call out about the AP article?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let me just skim it. Yeah, so there is just one little bit in particular I wanted to tease out, just because I've seen some misunderstanding, and I did write about this on Blue Sky, but obviously I know not everyone's on Blue Sky. So it's this part. Driver had undertaken the trilogy with an arc in mind for Ren that inverted the journey of Darth Vader. As the trilogy evolved, it didn't play out that way. Driver felt there was unfinished business for Kylo Ren, or as he was known before turning to the dark side, Ben Solo. So obviously that isn't Adam's words, that's the words of the journalist, but it's obviously the journalist rephrasing sentiments that Adam has explained to him. So I think that's interesting, because it's like reiterating sort of the starting point Adam is coming from in looking at that character and what actually interests him about continuation. And that part about there being this inverted journey of Darth Vader, I feel like it's very tempting for us as Reylos to see that as like the reverse Anadala thing, which I absolutely think the sequels do. And that's something I spoke about in our panel, because I totally think that's there and that's part of the fabric of those movies. But Adam is fundamentally talking about something very different, which he also spoke about in 2023 when he was promoting Ferrari on the Rich Eisen podcast. And there he was basically talking about the pitch that J.J. Abrams gave him when he was first being brought on to play Kylo for The Force Awakens. And J.J.'s pitch was, His idea was that Kylo Ren's journey was the opposite journey of Vader, where Vader starts the most confident and the most committed to the dark side. And then by the last movie, he's the most vulnerable and weak. He wanted to start with the opposite. And then Adam went on to say, in the last one, so Tross, it changed into being, about them, meaning Ben and Rey, and the dyad, and things like that, and evolving into Ben Solo. That was never a part of it. So I remember those comments inspiring much conversation and interest at the time, because I think there was almost like a disappointment in the fan base because Adam himself seemed disappointed in the turn that the character had taken, because obviously he went into it with the idea in his mind that he would be getting progressively more and more confident in the dark side and more devoted to evil, if you will, as that trilogy progressed. So it sort of played as a bit of a blinder to him when he got to Tross, and he was like, oh, I'm actually becoming Ben Solo again, and I'm getting a redemption story. So, and I'm sure you'll remember that after Tross came out, there were interviews with him in the media where he was talking about just being sat on a plane and just feeling dazed after he had filmed those last scenes in that movie.
He was writing a fanfic in his head.
Yeah, exactly. Which we presume are those end scenes, where he's saving Rey and he dies. And I think we've got confirmation of that at some point. And basically, I feel like there must be this sense of dissatisfaction within Adam Driver himself, where he's not necessarily opposed to the idea of Ben coming back, but he, like us as fans, found it incredibly abrupt, and that he didn't feel there was enough opportunity for him as an actor to explore who Ben actually was and what it meant for him to come back to the dark side. Because in that Tross behind the scenes documentary we got on the Blu-ray, we got this lovely quote from Adam Driver, which has also done the rounds a lot. And he said, "The thing that we started with for Who is Ben then is someone who has hope. There's no more ambiguity about what it is he has to do. There's no more seesaw that's happening. For the first time, someone who has never had the answer now finally knows his purpose or destiny. He has to let her know that they're together. But I don't know that he entirely is sure of what's going to happen from there, nor do I think he cares. I think it's so long as he's with her, he's on the right path." And I feel like that, to an actor, is sort of like an intriguing mystery, to have this person who's just turned away from this life of evil and committing all these abhorrent acts. And he fundamentally does it out of this deep love for this single woman. But then what does it actually mean beyond that single sacrificial act? And I think there's a lot of narrative meat there to explore in a story. And I'm writing my own fan fiction about Adam Driver, based on a few quotes, and I acknowledge that. But I really think that's the starting point he was coming from for this movie. And I feel like that title, The Hunt for Ben Solo, is probably, I'm sure it is to some extent about a literal hunt, as in the search for Spock type of thing, where it's oh, where's Ben gone? How can we find him? But I think it's about also an introspective
soul searching
thing. Yeah, the soul searching, who am I now? Who is this person called Ben Solo? What does that even mean anymore? So, that's rant over. That was the key thing I wanted to say. So thank you.
I absolutely loved your thoughts on that, because I think that there has been a lot of back and forth about what he has meant at any given time. I think that the title itself, being The Hunt for Ben Solo, is very clear, the directionality that he needs to go. In that, they gave us that. And from me, I can tell you that it's about figuring out who this character is after you have been redeemed. That's atonement. That's searching through all of these different aspects. There's a mythological journey that we typically associate with Joseph Campbell, which is the hero's journey or the adventure's journey that goes through all of these the typical phases that you hear about when you talk about with Campbell. But Campbell also talks about the spiritual warrior journey, which is about finding out who you truly are within yourself. And I could imagine flashbacks or him dealing with his Kylo Ren persona as part of this story. And I would eat that up any day of the week.
Yeah. It literally sounds like beyond my wildest dreams as a project, to be honest.
Truly. to Adam's point, it would have been great.
Yeah, it really would have. Really would have had him. But yeah, hopefully it will still happen. We'll see. Let's keep up the hope. We can talk more about that as we go on. But yeah, do you want to talk about what you have next in your notes?
So Charmine, the director of the Ray movie, at least at this point, as far as we know, on October 22nd, added to her Instagram reels a Rumi quote. And I'm going to read it. It's describing it is there's a man that's standing in a field and he's just standing there, and it's like a field of wheat, and there's like a sunset or a sunrise. And it says, if the light is in your heart, you will find your way home. Mm-hmm. And this is like I don't know how to tell it. It's like a candle. It's like a torch. It's like a flag to all Star Wars Reylo fans.
Yes.
Because during the development of The Rise of Skywalker, we have that famous picture of, I forget her name, the second unit director.
Oh God, yeah, Carrie Hart?
No, it wasn't Carrie Hart, because she said if you're being scared of risk leads to disaster.
Me now.
But I will have to Google it. Okay. But she had a picture of all of this, like, basically mood
it's Out Beyond Right, Out Beyond Wrong. There's a field, I'll meet you there.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to find.
So many Reylos understand that to mean the dyad, which we eventually got a name for. Basically because they have this connection that is beyond right and wrong.
Yes.
And
exactly.
This quote
got a lot of mileage out from that.
felt very timely. And it could be nothing. Like, this could be delusional. It could be just she likes putting quotes up, because she does. Yes. But it just felt timed so interesting. Daisy Ridley also posted within that day. There was a lot of things that had come out. But by this point in this week, everyone was starting to really, really talk about it. Yeah. On October 22nd, we had about a day of everybody sort of reacting to it. And then we started to get these, like, really interesting things happened.
Yeah. Star Wars. Victoria Mahoney.
Victoria Mahoney. Perfect. Thank you. Apologize, Victoria. I'm so sorry. I forgot your name. So we had October 22nd as well. So we had this Rumi quote as early in the morning. Everybody being like, oh, what's going on? The Star Wars YouTube channel posts the exact clip from The Rise of Skywalker that is a response to Bob Iger and Alan Bergman. How could Ben Solo come back?
A power like life itself. That's how he could come back.
It is the scene where Ben Solo comes in, is faced by the Knights of Ren. Rey, sensing his danger, seeing him in the Force, transports a lightsaber to him. They both fight. They are confronting Palpatine, and Palpatine says, "You are a dyad in the Force." Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a tell, isn't it? I feel like people should be superimposing Bob Iger's face onto Palpatine. That could make quite an effective meme. I lack Photoshop skills, so I'm not going to try and do that myself. But if
challenge to the fandom.
Yeah, it's a challenge. So if you have basic Photoshop skills, please do that. Because I personally think that would be very funny, and it would send a clear and effective message. So yeah, do that, guys.
That day, change.org, 2 different change.org campaigns started. They didn't get a lot of headway on that. I think people are very disillusioned with change.org as a platform to actually get anything done. It just sort of helps people feel like they did stuff. So
yeah, you could get like 500,000 signatures, and I doubt it would change their minds. It's not the sort of thing that they listen to.
Yeah, it is not. It is press. It is bad press. It's people making this a big deal. And so we had another day, and more Star Wars channels, more Star Wars podcasts. Sky Talkers came out with an episode. Blast Points came out with an episode. Love those guys. Other people have started to actually like talk about this more. And on October 23rd, Leanna, who of course is on Twitter as well as on Blue Sky, paid for a plane to fly a banner that said "Save the Hunt for Ben Solo" over the Disney studios.
Such a good use of inheritance money. I absolutely love that. I think it's wonderful. It's genuinely amazing.
And this caused so many, I would say, reticent fans to actually think this was a PR stunt. Which is funny
thought
because
it was Disney, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they thought Disney is soft launching Ben Solo. And maybe they are.
Which I wouldn't be mad about, but I don't think that's what's happening.
I'm not going to be mad about it. I'm happy to be a useful idiot, guys.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to be a lemming if the project happens. I'm totally happy to have like faux outrage. But right now the outrage is very real, but if it turns out it was all completely fabricated,
I'm not even going to be mad. I'll be like, yeah, use me, guys.
Yeah. I'll be like, thank you for making me feel things again. Thank you very much.
Thank you for producing content for me. That's such a weird feeling.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, obviously I've never stopped being a Reylo since 2019, you know, like, but obviously there has been like a loss of steam, you know, as is natural with a fandom where you're just not really getting much new content, you know, and the story for the characters as it was seemed done, you know, so it's harder to just keep on talking about them when there wasn't anything truly new to talk. It wasn't anything truly new to talk about anymore. So yeah, if nothing else, this is wonderful for like what a jab in the arm it's given the entire fandom, you know, so I haven't seen us this active since 2019.
We're just chugging them Ben Solo Red Bulls.
Yes. Give me more. It's like an addiction, but a wonderful addiction. So yeah.
So the fandom was still pretty like jiving from the banner, right? No articles had kind of posted about that until the next day. So all those sort of started. So it's been like up and down as far as what has been happening. And then on October 24th, my good friend Matt posted on Blue Sky a screenshot of Bituations, who is Steven Soderberg's Blue Sky account.
I love that he has like such a tiny Blue Sky account with like 200 followers. And it's literally amazing. Like this huge Hollywood director who did like an Oceans movie. And it's like he has less followers than me.
I know.
I don't
like
know his changed.
His like tweet, like his posts before that were like a link to his blog. And like randomly talking about a piece of media. Like he had like six posts. And so he originally posted on August 20th. Or sorry, on October 20th. What year is it? I don't know. On October 20th. And then he did a follow-up on October 22nd. And I upon speaking with Matt, took just the quotes and put them onto Twitter. I did not take screenshots. I didn't say anything. I just said on Blue Sky, he said X. And people lost their goddamn minds on October 24th.
So that's what you're talking about with setting the internet alight. I remember now. Sorry.
And then from that, all of these posts, like all of these people were like, give me the screenshot. Tell me what his name is. I'm like, Google it. Like, I just was like mad. I was like, I'm trying to make sure he doesn't delete his account. Like, I
was guilty of that when Mary Claire sent me the information. I think you just sent me a link to the Blue Sky posts. At first I was like, how do you know this is him? Because it's not like anywhere, it didn't say anywhere on the profile.
But I Googled what his Twitter account name was and I confirmed it. Like, it is him. Like,
No, you're 100% right. You know, like, it's just, I was confused because it was just such a low key account for someone like that to have, you know, so that's
dropping these like bombs on Blue Sky. He must have known this was the Reylo social media.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he said, for the record, I did not enjoy lying about the existence of the hunt for Ben Solo, but it really did need to remain a secret until now! Exclamation mark. What?
I feel like it's almost performative tragedy. That's what I'm choosing to believe.
And it's on the 20th. And I'm like looking at the time, dude, and it looks like it just came out like right after Adam posted it. Like, did Adam call him and say, "Oh yeah, the thing is posted, so post your message"? Like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Go nuts on Blue Sky, guy. Just go nuts.
Go nuts on Blue Sky. I know you're not on Twitter or whatever social media is because I only have a dial-up phone. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I know he texts. He just doesn't use emojis. And then on the 22nd, he says, also in the aftermath of HFBS situation, I asked Kathy Kennedy at LFL had ever turned in a finished script for a greenlight to Disney and had it rejected. She said, no, this was a first. So if you're hearing about this is because of me.
Damn. Yeah.
Because I actually logged onto Twitter and I was just so confused. I was like, why would he say this? What does this mean? This was the first? It felt so weird.
I think it's them trying to be very deliberately provocative and trying to underscore the unfairness and the pointedness with which the project seems to have been shot down. Which I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel like a deliberate attempt to get people more outraged and more passionate about supporting this project and trying to bring it back. Because if it's something like you've just kind of like resigned yourself to the fact it's not going to happen, I'm not sure why you would talk about it as publicly as this and make such a big deal of the fact it's
vague except for the name, vague except for the circumstances.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and I'm not mad at you guys. I'm in your corner, like, but I don't even know how to process all of this.
Yeah, like I do. It's very, very difficult to say, right? Because who knows what discussions are going on behind the scenes. I think the only thing I'm really confident of is that Adam, Stephen, and Lucasfilm are all working together as like a targeted, unified effort to have like a consistent stand and to be strong together, you know, in terms of like putting out there that this was cancelled and it was unfair and arbitrary. And I think the subtext of the playlist interview, which we're presumably going to talk about shortly, is that this is almost like a direct subversion and sabotage of Kathleen Kennedy herself, because it's essentially taking away her autonomy to run her studio. Yep. You know, so my understanding is that as the studio
like free
head,
Lucasfilm,
she should have the authority over what projects get greenlit and which ones don't. So I feel like Iger and Bergman are going above her head by saying, no, this isn't going to happen. You know, like, and it's clearly showing a disrespect for her judgment, you know, and her business and creative acumen. So I feel like that's why they've kind of gone out all guns blazing, you know, in such a big way, because I feel like they're all being fueled by this righteous indignation, essentially. Yeah. Which I feel too.
I feel as well. I'm behind you. We should be mad if maybe all of the problems with Star Wars in the Disney era that we have had to live through have actually been Disney.
Yeah. I think a great majority of them have. 100%. Like, I'm always slightly nervous about absolute statements, but I feel like there's been a lot of hand-tying Kathleen Kennedy, especially after they got cold feet with some of the sequel backlash, you know, where I feel like at that point there was like this extra level of like pressure and supervision. And obviously all the sequel movies, apart from The Last Jedi, were made on very accelerated schedules without really sufficient development time. And, you know, it's very open and out there that that was the case. And I feel like different things would have happened and different decisions would have been made if they had had the time that Kathleen Kennedy wanted and advocated for, but didn't get. So I feel like there must be so much frustration on her part that she hasn't fully been allowed to run her studio as she should have been. So, yeah, people have always been too hard on Kathleen Kennedy, but I think this really underscores the injustice of the whole situation.
And it certainly does vindicate her, Lucasfilm. It shows Dave Filoni has never been against Kathleen Kennedy's vision. You know, yes. Like it definitely, like so much work has been done in the last week, basically to right wrongs.
Yeah, Exactly. So I personally have a lot more faith in Lucasfilm right now than I did, say, 2 weeks ago. Because I have a lot more confidence that Lucasfilm are actively trying and seeking to put things right, and that they know trust went wrong. And I wasn't certain that was the case, although I suspected it probably was. Whereas now I'm certain based on all this stuff. So yeah, I find that affirming and reassuring. So again, and that's part of why I feel so positive about this news overall, because I'm like, Lucasfilm are trying really, really hard. And if Disney just like set them free and let them actually run the studio and make things, I feel like they will put it right, because they've been able to accurately diagnose what the problem is.
Exactly. I do want to call out that there was actually 3 pieces of news in the last on October 24th that came out, and not really news, but more just like major publications that were reacting to this beyond like Vanity Fair and Collider and all of these things. But they came out with like sort of key, I don't know, feelings about things. We had the playlist article, which I think is fundamentally the most important. We had a Forbes article that came out, which actually showed more Disney meddling with a very specific money lens in regards to Willow. And then we had the Empire podcast, the Empire Film podcast, which sort of frames everything all together in a quick soundbite that blew up on TikTok. But you can actually go and listen to the full podcast and hear what they say.
Okay, you'll have to explain that to me, because I've not even come across any references to the Empire podcast before. I have seen allusions to the stuff about Willow, but I haven't read that article in detail. But I do know a lot about the playlist article, which is why I've been talking about it a lot. So yeah, where would you like to start with playlist?
Let's dig in with playlist, because I do think it is the most important. It's just that the Willow article and the Empire podcast sort of support the feelings that are in things. And Empire is more just vibes, right? Like it is absolutely vibes, but
it's not news. It's more just like how they're reporting on it and talking about it.
This is a major film podcast that is out there.
Oh, sure.
Large following.
Yeah. No Empire magazine's big. It's a British magazine, to be patriotic for a moment.
Oh, that's what that accent was that I was listening to.
Yeah. What? Who knows? What? No way. But yeah, playlist article. So there was a lot of really interesting information in this, because to my knowledge, this is the only independent report to have come out that actually has new information and is from like a rock solid, completely trustworthy industry source, essentially. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's my understanding.
No, this is the only one, although it is still like sources tell me, but it names names in very specific corroborating ways. Like it's very specific.
And I would bet money on those names who've been speaking to the playlist journalists that they're either Steven Soderberg himself or someone on his team, because these are like very intimate details of the project that people wouldn't know unless they were very closely involved with it. So I'd literally bet money on that. Not my house, but I would bet money. There were lots of interesting things in this article. I think one of the most important is that it was much further along than people imagined. So I think people thought from the initial AP article that it was a project that was in development, and okay, maybe they had a draft of a script, but people thought it hadn't gone much further than that. Whereas in the playlist article, it specifically says that this project had a completed script, the full creative stamp of approval from Lucasfilm, including Kathleen Kennedy, and was greenlit internally. And obviously some of that echoes what we already knew, but it's just more adamant and firm in how it's expressing that, I suppose. And it also says that the project had a code name, which was Quiet Leaves, which
Quiet Leaves.
Obviously I love it. It's beautiful. Obviously, you could never read too much into the code names, because the code name for the Rise of Skywalker was Trixie, and what does that tell you about the Rise of Skywalker? Literally nothing. Yeah,
The Last Jedi was Space Bear, but that actually was a reference to the Legends of the Fall, which because Luke was the bear in Legends of the Fall, i.e. the Space Bear.
I forgot that was what I knew it was called Space Bear,
sometimes they mean things and sometimes they don't. But I like to imagine that it's Rey and her love of love of forests and green. And
I like to think that it was a fall movie with lots of autumn leaves.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, it's going to be so beautiful when it happens. Positive vibes.
Yes. We're manifesting this.
manifest. Beautiful, crisp autumn leaves, like an embrace in them. Yeah, it's lovely. Okay. And yeah, this might be the part that I found most interesting. So I'll just read out the whole thing. So, according to insiders, Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, and Carrie Beck were directly involved throughout development and were reportedly enthusiastic about the drafts that came in. Kennedy and the Star Wars Story Group waited until the project was ready to shoot before they presented it to Disney. When the final... Yep.
What?
Oh, have you not read that part?
No, I have. I'm just reacting again because
I see.
Still hurts.
I was very clear. Come on.
No, I've read everything. I'm reacting again.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. But big feelings. When the final script, budget, and proposed start date were delivered to Disney, it marked the first time Lucasfilm had ever presented a fully approved project that did not move forward. Update: Soderberg confirmed this detail himself just moments ago on Blue Sky, alluding to what Marie Claire was just talking about. After the submission, the project stalled at the executive level. Sources say Bergman took an unusually long time to read the script, and when he and Iger finally responded, their primary concern was narrative continuity, specifically uncertainty about how Ben Solo could be alive following the events of The Rise of Skywalker. Internally, that reaction surprised Lucasfilm leadership, who reportedly felt the story's logic was clear and creatively sound. Several people close to the production interpret the decision as politically motivated, coinciding with Iger's efforts to position Bergman as his successor at Disney. And then it goes on to talk about the fallout from the cancellation and other things. But yeah, what do you make of that, Marie Claire?
I am shocked. It feels like I've been stabbed.
Yeah. They've taken something precious away from you.
Yeah.
Which they have.
And also from the myth, from the story, they knew it needed to happen. They were ready to go this year. I do not think that Steven Soderberg was looking at the Empire Strikes Back making of book in December with the plan of not shooting it this year.
Yeah.
And I would have loved it if they started shooting and we suddenly got a drop of we're shooting this movie. Or maybe we didn't even know until TFA was coming out, the 10th anniversary and all that stuff. And then they're like, oh, by the way, this character's returning.
Wow. Can you imagine if they just without a caption, the Star Wars official account posted an image of Adam Driver in the Ben Solo shirt with the hole in it? Just no further comment, just being yeah, this is a thing that exists now. People would go nuts.
So I went to Star Wars Celebration Japan, and one of the things that really bothered me, yes, we had the Starfighter announcement. Yes, we had the Ahsoka 2, hey, we're filming right away, or I'm about to film conversation. But it actually felt quite flat with how much announcement stuff they had.
Yeah, in terms of not having much to announce.
Exactly. Yes, Starfighter, interesting. Maul Shadow Lord. But normally they would have 3 or 4 other things in addition to that. Yeah. I sort of wonder if this was legit canceled, right before Celebration, and they had to pull a whole bunch of stuff.
That would make a lot of sense, actually, in my opinion. Over a sudden change in direction.
Because maybe they had 3 or 4 other projects that were around this. They're more about the Rey movie, more about because isn't it the summer that we heard that there was so much change in the Rey movie outcomes? I feel like that's when we've heard that there was so many things changing about it.
Oh, in terms of they were rejigging it so it took place in less time after Tross and that sort of thing. Yeah, I can't remember the timeline of that, but I remember seeing rumors to that effect that it wasn't going to be 15 years anymore, which I think would be very well aligned with this Ben Solo movie because I feel like they would want to bring it down. They wouldn't want to extend the timeline like that anymore. So
it's been less than 10 months, certainly, maybe even less than that.
Yeah, exactly. Which would tie in with what we were saying earlier about us thinking the cancellation was probably earlier this year. So that would make sense over there being like a dramatic reshuffle around celebration time.
I'm shocked and I'm mad.
It is very maddening. And I feel like what I find particularly interesting is obviously in the original AP article, there's that reference to like Iger shooting it down because it's like, well, I don't understand how Ben Solo could be alive. And then there's like a very clear counter argument to that in the playlist article, where it literally says that the logic behind how the character was back was creatively sound, which just unveils the fact that that was such like a vapid, empty excuse, you know, for not moving forward with the project. And it was actually for completely disconnected reasons. Because obviously when they mention like it's a political decision to cancel it, like obviously they don't mean political as in like literal Republicans versus Democrats. They mean the politics of the studio, basically. And so when they're saying political, I'm pretty sure they mean that they were reluctant to greenlight this thing because they were afraid of the... I think it's bullshit, but supposedly the stink that's around the sequel trilogy and those characters. So they were too afraid to touch that for their own sakes and for the sake of their own reputation. And so they just shot it down because they just didn't want their fingers on it at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's cowardly and dumb and stupid and short-sighted.
And they have a chance to do what Clone Wars did for the prequels. They have a chance to do, which is smooth the rough edges.
Yes.
This story is iterative and we can make everything make sense.
Exactly. Because I think you had a good point earlier about this Hunt for Ben Solo film. I'd like to come back at some point so we could like iterate ideas for what that could even look like. Although that might be dangerous. I don't want to step on the toes of what an actual.
I want the creatives to do to get what they want.
Exactly. It's like
free Lucasfilm.
Yeah, it bothers me when I see people saying leak the script. I'm like, no,
don't.
That's like literally the worst case scenario. Don't do that. Yeah. So. But I feel like something that they would have done in this movie is flashbacks to a young Ben training with Luke. Because obviously if you're doing like a hunt for Ben Solo from the perspective of it being like self-discovery and introspection, we need to actually go back and see who Ben Solo was.
To understand who he was. Oh my God.
Exactly.
So I've written one Star Wars fanfic.
Nice,
it's not even finished, but I wrote this idea of Ben Solo being stuck in the world between worlds and sort of experiencing this very psychological thing where he was re-experiencing parts of his life throughout time to work through himself and collect himself together.
Amazing. So it sounds just like your fan fiction, basically.
I mean, just take my fan fiction, guys. I'll no. I want Steven's movie. Thanks. Actually, I don't want to do the work. Thanks.
No, it's too much like hard work. But yeah, and I feel like what you're saying about the Clone Wars, you know, because so often the complaint I hear when people are talking about the issues they have with the sequels is that they don't understand how the characters got to that point, essentially, in The Force Awakens, where everything has gone to shit, you know. And I personally like that aspect of that film where you're just sort of dropped into in media res, you know, and you're just sort of like told to keep up, you know, and you have to like make up your own mind to some extent. But I feel like for the people who were frustrated by that omission, if you come out of like a big Ben Solo movie where you have like a new actor cast as like a teenage Ben, you know, like in it alongside Adam Driver as the adult Ben later on, I feel like that would go so far towards like renewing people's goodwill towards the sequels and making them appreciate those movies differently and just seeing them from a completely different perspective, like how people see Anakin from a different perspective. Now they have the benefit of knowing the type of person he was and how he developed in the Clone Wars series, you know. So I feel like it could be completely transformative for the legacy of the sequels and just the legacy of the Star Wars saga in general. So I think it's the dumbest ever move to not go forward with it. So
we already have in canon examples of reliving the past in Ahsoka's show.
Yes.
Right? Where they cast a younger version of Ahsoka. She speaks with Anakin in the Force. We have the world between worlds in live action. The Force is weirder and cooler than you possibly can imagine. And it can be literally anything you need it to be.
Yes.
All of the excuses are BS.
They totally are. Yeah.
Let's talk about the finances with Willow. So,
okay, yes. Tell me about this.
So Forbes came out with an article, and the subject line is Act fan favorite Disney streaming series costs just $17 million an episode. And it's not super revolutionary. It just goes into the finances of how much Willow cost, but it compares it to how popular it was, what the overall feelings on the tomato meter was, that it was actually a loving homage to George Lucas, produced, of course, by Jonathan Kasdan, and goes into kind of the love and the big, they literally found writings probably from Twitter fans on how popular it was within the Questies fandom. To basically say this, but then quoted Warwick saying how embarrassing it was that nobody could find the show any longer because they had removed it from Disney Plus. And this article goes into questioning these decisions to remove Lucasfilm shows over Marvel shows because it says it was 45.3% cheaper than the streaming show Secret Invasion and 27% less than The Acolyte.
Yeah, that's so bad. I hate what happened to Willow.
I love Willow so much. It definitely was part of the $10 billion write-off that they used that year because streaming has just not been what they think it needed to be. It all came out because basically the production company is suing Disney on what their math was.
Right, okay.
And this came out on October 24th too, but many people didn't find it until the 26th.
Right, okay. Yes, I guess there was so much going on. People were distracted.
Exactly. And not necessarily calling the parallels to this is a direct challenge to Disney's math.
Right. Yeah. There's always lots of creative accountancy with these big companies, unfortunately.
The Acolyte itself,
the numbers fall in a convenient way.
And if you're planning on canceling it and kind of using it as a write-off or whatever, your math ends up becoming very creative. Like a roll of tape costs $100. It's messy, and it was challenging Disney's math.
Yeah, it's there was an article recently about the budgets of all the sequel trilogy movies alongside all the movies I think Lucasfilm have made. And it was something absurd for Tross, $600 million or something.
Yeah.
And it's flagrantly untrue, and just inflated through various arcane means. But it's just Hollywood accountancy. They've been doing it since the dawn of time. So yeah, it's very frustrating and annoying, and another reminder of the injustice that Willow has been served. So yeah, I'm sorry, it really sucks for Willow fans, and I like Willow a lot. I never really got deeply involved in the fan base. I know you've podcasted about it a lot, Marie Claire, so you're a lot deeper into it than I am, but I did really like that show, and I thought it had a lot going for it. So I'm very sad it got brutally cut down in such a savage way.
It basically concludes by saying that Disney isn't happy with how the streaming model is working, and they're thinking about licensing different amounts of their content out to other sources because they're not in a good place.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, I feel like they were betting just on 2 or 3 ponies, the Marvel pony, the Star Wars pony, and the Disney animation pony, and ultimately all those things have a finite audience to them, and as much as I personally like Willow, that is a very, very niche appeal product ultimately.
Yeah. And
where it's appealing
might have done well on ABC or something on a Friday night, right? Family situation, but not on a streaming service where it didn't even get hardly any play.
Yeah. On a streaming service, it relies on you actively going onto that service and seeking it out. Willow is a sort of show. It needed to be plopped onto TV at 7 p.m. on a family-friendly time slot. And I know no one watches linear TV broadcasts anymore. It just doesn't happen. But there had to be another way of presenting that to people where it would be found. And
like you say, it just wasn't found. So
Yeah.
it's sad. Yeah.
Exactly. And I still hope that it will come back at least in some way, but it might not because it's part of the $10 billion write-off.
Yes. Oh, and one thing I realized I forgot to say when I was talking about the previous discussion with the playlist and, you know, the idea of revisiting Ben's story in the past is obviously we've had some really interesting publishing developments.
Yes.
Where obviously we're getting interesting stuff happening all the time with the Legacy of Vader comics, which is building on Kylo Ren between episode 8 and episode 9. And they've also recently announced a novel. You might remember the title. I can't currently remember the title. But it's focused on Rey, Leia, and it seems to a lesser extent Kylo in that same period between 8 and 9.
Yeah, it's
and
coming out in March or something, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like now we know, obviously, that this project was percolating at Lucasfilm, you know, in this period over the last few years. I'm not saying the authors of these properties were actively talking to Soderberg or had seen the script or anything. I think that's extremely unlikely. But I feel like what is more likely is that the story group might have been nudging them in certain directions and saying, oh, could you feed Kylo and Rey's direct relationship in this direction, or have Kylo be thinking about Rey in a certain way, or vice versa, you know, because then that could be setting up something that happens in this Ben Solo movie very subtly, because again, they never give away anything big in these like tie-in products. But I'm very much looking forward to when that book in particular comes out, because I think it might have some interesting insights in, so I'm curious about that.
I agree.
So yeah.
Onto the Empire podcast. And I don't want to say that this is like, hey, newsworthy or anything like that, but I thought it was very interesting, especially for fans of this show who might be interested. There was a clip that came out and they were basically aghast that this movie was possible and was canceled. And it was circulating on TikTok and eventually made it to Twitter, X. And I actually went back and listened to the actual segment. They actually talk about it for about 5-6 minutes. And they start out by saying, we might get a Settlers of Catan movie, but not The Hunt for Ben Solo. And I was like, oh God.
He's being very perverse about that.
Yeah. They speculate that all of the information that has come out before this point has been very coordinated. So the playlist article, Stephen himself, Adam, all of these things feel like everybody's trying to say, pay attention to this. They also talk about Reylo. They talk about the end of the story and saying, hey, they kiss. It was definitely a kiss of gratitude, or at least one of the hosts does. And then one of the other co-hosts says, it's a good thing that every time I kiss you full on the lips, it's only in gratitude.
That's funny. I was
like, okay, yeah. So there's like a good like mix of the standard things that we talk about. But there's this major point that says there were people who were 10 when these movies came out, and now they are 20. These movies were their childhood. And this is absolutely the point. These people have money. They want to buy the things that they grew up with and influence them.
Yes. I was about to say that's a chilling statement, Mary Claire, so it reminds me of my own mortality. But you're right. On a more optimistic reading, and that's lovely that all the people who were like kiddies when Force Awakens came out, I'm sorry if you're listening to this and you were a literal child when Force Awakens came out. I love you. I'm not trying to take the mick. It's just, it blows my mind that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that people who were 10 in 2015 are now 20. I can't get over that. That's too weird.
Drinking in some countries, voting, driving.
Yeah. They've got liver disease if they're in the UK. They've been drinking since they were 16. Sorry, that's quite dark.
Yeah, it's okay.
But yeah, no, it's a very good point, because I feel like Kylo and Rey, let's be straight, they were probably the standout characters from the sequels. I think, those tended to be the characters that people dressed up as at Halloween. Those are the people that, got the most enthusiastic debate and got people really, really invested in their stories. And yeah, I feel like those are the headline characters where if you really want to like attract that generation who fell in love with the sequel characters, you get the most attention by bringing back hopefully both of them, but Ray and or Ben. So yeah, it just makes smart business sense, really.
It's really interesting you frame it that way, because I think that people who will hold the market share of the next generation hold the what can you dress up as for Halloween? And this year it will absolutely be K-pop Demon Hunters. There is costumes for girls, there's costumes for boys, there's costumes for people that want to be a tiger or a bird.
Nice.
There's costumes all over the place. And in the last 20 years, there have been so few costumes available of new IP characters that it's actually been startling. It's Minions, it's Star Wars, and it's K-pop Demon Hunters.
Right. Yeah. This is quite a limited pool.
So who controls the imaginations of our children? Well, right now it's K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah. Which is good because it's awesome.
It's amazing. I love it. Yeah. I did a whole deep dive into it on my other channel.
Of course you did. I love that. That's great.
It's mythic as hell. Also a lost husband story. So Star Wars has the chance to get some of that bank.
It's Reylo.
It's Reylo. Exactly. Okay, on to October 25th, which I knew this was coming. My good friend Bree told me about this before it was coming, which is amazing. So this was a fan initiative. On October 25th, the billboard for New York Times Square that can change like every minute or every 15 seconds or something like that was bought out by some beautiful Reylos. And it specifically said, for Adam, no one's ever really gone. Hope lives. Ben is alive. Hashtag THBS. And there was blue butterflies flying around.
I saw the billboard and I love that. And I'm a full endorser and supporter. And I feel like I like that it's almost become like a place of pilgrimage for people who are really enthusiastic about this project and really want it to happen. It's nice to have something tangible like a billboard to rally around. So I think it's a really great thing.
Oh, I meant to mention, Leanna also, back on October 23rd, the Friday that also planned a GoFundMe for Children of Palestine.
Yes. Yeah. We should include a link to that in the notes.
Children of Palestine Fund. And at last I checked, it's over $12,000. So
amazing.
Fans who, of course, are known for fundraising for charity in respect to this, arts in the armed forces. There was also the Independent Booksellers Initiative that I participated with and did my interview with Charles Soule based on raising over $10,000 for. This fandom is not just about what we want, we also give back a lot as well. And
yes,
it's important to say that, yeah, we'll pay for billboards, but we also want this to be done with love.
Yeah. Exactly. It shouldn't. There's obviously a real world with real suffering and real injustice going on, and obviously we all care a great deal about this project and we really, really want it to happen. But it's important not to divert all energies to that at the expense of like the real world causes that need us to.
Then, also on October 25th, I had a good friend a friend that I had met in Japan, a new friend, nice. During Star Wars Celebration Japan. He's a Kylo and Ben Solo cosplayer.
Awesome.
And I met him and he was wearing his Good Boy sweater and the Skywalker lightsaber at our shared Oshimir Reylo meetup.
Amazing.
He took a picture of my pin that I had on my lanyard, which was Kylo as a Disney prince.
Fabulous.
But he had actually messaged me and said, hey, have you seen this? This Saw Sue person on Twitter had actually posted a translation of pulling out the screenshots of the Acolyte art of book that talk about the stranger and say, hey, the stranger was actually supposed to be the first Knight of Red.
Wow. That's so cool. I can't believe that came out so in such a low-key way.
So it was just posted to Amazon, and it's been posted since August.
Wow. So people really overlooked that. Oh man.
Everybody overlooked it. They didn't read it. This person read it and translated it into Japanese. Nobody paid attention to it because it was in Japanese.
Wow. Yeah.
But not to me, is the name of this Kylo Ben cosplayer. He sent it to me and was like, "Hey, MC, I think this is important." And so I retweeted the post and said, "Wait a second. Does this mean the Acolyte was leading into the hunt for Ben Solo?"
Wow. That'd be so damn cool. Oh my God.
And so I have to say, as a big Acolyte fan, as a big Ben Solo fan, I'm at the Save Ben Solo party. I'm at the Renew the Acolyte party. I'm at the combination Save Ben Solo, Renew the Acolyte party. We're doing this. We need these stories.
Yeah. We need this energy for everything. Yeah.
And I'm reminded of the fact that back in 2024, in December, Alan Bergman was interviewed and said the reason they cut the Acolyte was because of the cost.
Right. Yeah.
So, Alan, what are your crimes? Admit to them now.
Crimes against good taste. Right. That's a crime, amongst other things. Oh my God. But yeah, no, again, it's similar to Willow, and that is just like a lot of injustice was done to that show. And they really, really let the most bad possible actors overtake the narrative about the Acolyte, which I hate very much. So I think there's so much that's good about that show, and there's so much interesting that Leslie Headland was doing with the mythology. So it makes me really bummed out that it's been done such a disservice and just put in the proverbial bin of Star Wars. It does not deserve that. It deserves a lot better. And yeah, just hearing the sort of plans that must have been feeding into that, with the stranger being like the first night of Ren, that must have been such an important element of that hypothetical second season. So it makes me newly mad that we're not going to get that now.
Exactly. Overall, this continued fan renewal because this was picked up by the trades. The Holocron picked it up first after seeing my tweet, I think. And then, but I can source it back to my tweet being the first time that it was mentioned.
That's cool.
Which is insane. Again, why did I break the internet twice? I don't know. But then
you're just that famous. No,
I'm not. I'm not a big Twitter account. I haven't posted on Twitter in, again, like a year.
Yeah. It's been a long time for me too. Yeah,
right?
Like I think it's because you have just a big enough following for quite a few people to pick up on something like that when you share it when it's a piece of news, and then it just spirals and it gains momentum.
News, I use in quotes.
Yeah, exactly. Then the articles pick up on it, and yeah, it just goes crazy.
So that's where I'm saying, like, if you find something interesting like that, talk about it. Send it to me to retweet. I'll totes retweet it.
Exactly.
Apparently, I break the internet. What? Yeah.
You could be the central communication hub for Star Wars news.
Fandom crisis management. Here we go.
Exactly.
And so we've had amazing creators. Matt Wood apparently spoke out about it at one of the cons, saying he would love to have him back. Ray Carson said she wanted to have him back. Zoraida was posting stuff on her Instagram about it. So these are writers, of course. Other franchise people. I saw the creator of Star Trek Lower Decks talk about how he wanted this to happen.
Well, that's really cool.
Like, it definitely feels like people are like talking about it and being like, yeah, what? Like, this feels wrong. It feels wrong to people. That's wild.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great that it's got big supporters. I feel like someone like Steven Soderberg in particular, he's very loved in the industry. So I feel like that alone is going to get a lot of goodwill. And then obviously you've got Adam Driver's collaborators who are always rooting for him. So my hope now is that people who've worked with Adam keep on being asked if they would like to see this project, because every time that happens, it's going to bring like a renewed boost of attention to it, which I think is what it really needs, because it really needs like a sustained stream of publicity.
Yeah, ongoing, really never letting up.
Exactly. Just be relentless. Totally relentless.
Be loud. Tell them what you want.
Exactly.
SFT or Swift video who does Star Wars and other fandoms, like Supercuts. He did this amazing, they did this amazing video on YouTube. I had never seen this creator before, but some of their Anakin video has like 26 million views. A very popular Star Wars like editor. And he did this Ben Solo one with the hunt for Ben Solo at the end as the hashtag, and it's very powerful and makes you want to cry. So
that's awesome.
It's a good idea. It's just really cool to see even larger creators that are really into Star Wars content talking about this, adding their voice, adding their creativity to it. That's just one example. There's already been like an explosion of art to your statement before of what we like to see. So more of that too gets people talking as well of what they want to see.
Exactly. Every little bit of enthusiasm and inspiration counts. And just keeping the dialogue going. So I love it.
We also have a different Brie, Vivid Little Vox on Twitter, started to make and print Find Ben Solo posters.
Yes, I saw those. They were great. Yeah. And that's another great example of fan creativity, which is awesome.
And posted them all around Burbank and the Disney studio and Disney.
Amazing.
Like, that's some work. That's like door knocking. And they're very funny to read. So I will, of course, post links to the article, as well as if you want to print your own picture of it, she has them available on her Google Drive. So you can take that and print it off yourself and try to find Ben Solo where you live.
Yeah, I'll have to locate where Disney have their offices in London and put them up outside in a friendly and non-threatening manner. Although I'm afraid of being arrested, so I'll need to read the good practice guide on how to not get arrested.
How to not get arrested in this, exactly.
Exactly. I'm a very law-abiding citizen. I don't want to get in trouble. But that is great. I love it, and how people are finding so many different ways of supporting the project. It's very cool.
October 27th, Ben/Kylo were posted about Star Wars on the Star Wars Facebook account, but in French.
Amazing.
That's always interesting to see when it shows up in another language.
Oui, très bien, très bien. That's my secondary school French, and that's about the extent of it.
I tried to badly Google Translate The Hunt for Ben Solo in French, and some French speakers said it was like I was trying to catch Ben Solo.
Oh no.
And I'm like a Pokemon? and they said, yeah, kind of like a Pokemon. And I'm like,
oh god.
Maybe that's true in my head.
Yeah, I feel like that's the hunt is like a word with a lot of subtleties to it that could easily get lost in translation.
Lost in Google Translate, yeah.
Yes, exactly. You're going right up against the limits, which is funny.
And the Star Wars Latin America X account, as well as the Star Wars Brazilian account, talked about the dyad in their posts with screenshots of the scene of Kylo talking to Rey on the Star Destroyer. Docking Bay.
I love
very
that.
Famous scene.
I'm very much of the opinion that's one of the most mythic of all Reylo scenes. Despite the absolute trash coming out of Adam Driver's mouth, which isn't his fault. But just purely based on aesthetics and vibes, it's 10 out of 10. Great aesthetics,
10 out of 10.
Great vibes. Yeah. So I like that scene. And just a final note of positivity about Adam Driver's career, because he's got involved with a new Netflix TV series called Rabbit, which is created by Peter Craig, who has worked on Top Gun Maverick, and directed by Adolescence's Philip Barantini. So there's a nice pedigree, and it's about an escaped convict takes hostages in an effort to bargain for his freedom, finding himself in an unmanageable social experiment with his captives and a poker match with a veteran negotiator. So it's unclear if Adam would be the convict or the negotiator. I feel like the convict would be more interesting, but who knows? We'll see. And obviously this isn't necessarily related to Star Wars, but it's already been shared a lot by various accounts. And I feel like in almost all the reporting I've seen about this project,
they've mentioned or at least alluded to the hunt for Ben Solo. So I think it's smart from like a publicity perspective for his career to position him as being like, no, this is a guy where there's a lot of interest around him. He's got this project going ahead alongside a ton of other things. You know, he's not sitting still waiting for Star Wars to call him. You know, this is an in-demand actor with a really, really hot career. So if Star Wars wants him, they would be very, very lucky to have him, and they need to give him what he wants, basically. Yep. So I feel like it's a power move, and it should be recognized and respected as such. So yeah, just pay him whatever he wants, because he did all the unpaid labor. Yeah. I still can't get over the fact he did it all for free, just out of the love of Ben Solo.
Give him a percentage of the lightsaber sales.
Yes. Yeah, for life. Then he will be made. That would just be everything sorted for the rest of his life and his children's lives and grandchildren's, and just into infinity. You would never need to work again. It would be wonderful. Oh, amazing. But yeah, is that all the news now?
Yeah, that is everything to today when we recorded.
Fabulous. Yeah, so that's quite the odyssey, isn't it? I love it.
Exactly. I'm just skimming through the questions a little bit to sort of summarize some of them, because we did talk about a lot of this being like, you know, Danny Kelly said it feels like this is friendly fire from Disney, trying to like knock one of the this is friendly fire at Disney, or like trying to basically reclaim George's legacy in a way.
Yeah.
I'm summarizing, but you know, it is sort of interesting that when you kind of look at all of the things that feel official versus the fandom response, that they all do seem very pointed.
Yeah, exactly. It's all studio politics going on, I think, which we've already spoken about. And yeah, there's clearly discontent at the heart of the Disney Lucasfilm collaboration, which is very interesting. I feel like you could make like a Succession style drama about all this drama that's been unfolding at Lucasfilm over the last 5 years, because there has undoubtedly been so much drama, and I would love to know the ins and outs, but that's just because I'm nosy. So I don't expect anyone to actually tell me.
To ever tell you this, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe when Kathleen Kennedy's retired and just sat on a beach, she might be like, yeah, I'm going to name names and take no prisoners and just put it all out there in a tell-all memoir. I would buy that on the first day, and it would be awesome. So yeah, I'd love to read that.
Lily has a question, which is, how do you cope with the balance of being ultra hopeful, but knowing Disney might still not follow up with what we want? So I'm not too disappointed.
It's a good question. I feel like my hopes were basically at zero, because I'd so much resigned myself to the fact that we weren't really going to get any more like Ben or explicit Reylo in the films. So I feel like everything that's come out from this, it has certainly raised my hopes above zero, but it's not like it's at 100, you know, because I'm trying to be moderated in my hopes and my expectations. So I don't necessarily think there's going to be like a complete 180 from Disney and they're going to turn around a month from now and be like, we've greenlit it. It's going into production. It's going into production next month. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen. But because my baseline of hope was so incredibly low, and now I have a little bit more hope than that, and with really good reason, I feel like that's enough to sustain me for into the foreseeable future, to be honest. Because I honestly just take a lot of like heart and like reassurance and warm fuzzies from knowing Adam Driver loves the character so much, you know, because I can't remember who exactly said this. I think it might have even been Kirsty, but someone said Tross made them feel stupid for caring in the first place. You know, and I've heard a lot of that, you know, that's not the only person it's come from. And I feel like to know that Adam Driver cares so much, that immediately refutes that feeling, you know, of feeling stupid for caring about these characters. Because if the person who brought that character to life cares so much, that immediately validates
it's okay for you to care too.
So much. Yeah, exactly. And so I take a lot of part from that.
Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, Carrie Beck, Dave Filoni.
All these people care. Yeah, it's not just Adam. Yeah,
They were in this fight up until this year.
Yeah.
Up until this 2025.
Yeah.
It's okay to care. It's okay to be loud. It's okay to be creative.
Yeah. And I feel like they still have fight in them as well, just from how these articles being framed. I don't think they've given up hope on this character or his story being continued. So I have a lot of hope for something, even if it's perhaps in a bit of a different form than this Soderberg project as written at the moment.
So with that, old millennial at Blue Sky asks, should we continue to have our hopes up for the hunt for Ben Solo, or more broadly for the return of Ben in some iteration? And I have a very specific thought on what I think is going to happen next, personally, based on Soderberg's posts, as well as his as well as what Adam has said and what has specifically come out.
Yeah, I think I've basically said everything I wanted to say personally about where my hope level is. So yeah, you go ahead, Marie-Claire, and talk about your position.
I think he's going to come back. I think they're going to take what they can from the treatment that was for the hunt for Ben Solo, probably the story, maybe condense it or like shorten it and use the ideas behind it to bring him back.
Right.
But it will be part of a bigger story. Maybe this is what 10, 11, 12 is going to be now.
Yeah, that could make sense.
And then there'll be writing credits that are given to other people.
Yeah, because wasn't there like an announcement in the trades about yet another director developing a trilogy to take place after Tross? Can you remember which director it was? There's been so many directors.
No.
I can't right now. Okay, that's good. That makes me feel better that I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, I think it's pretty obvious they're thinking about developing 10, 11, 12, which I think is smart from a commercial perspective, to be honest, because the saga movies are always the meat and potatoes of Star Wars. You know,
it's hard to sell things without the word Star Wars in them.
Exactly. Anything else is just a sideshow, fundamentally, in my opinion, you know, and they can be really wonderful, fantastic sideshows with a lot of value and merit in their own right. But core Star Wars for me will always be those saga movies. So as much as I would love to see the hunt for Ben Solo, if that story does get repurposed into a new trilogy, again, not mad about that. You know, I think there's potential there.
So, the crux of this is, what do we do next? And I'm going to say, continue to ask for what you want, be loud, support things positively as much as possible. Be upset. It's okay to be upset with where we're at, because it does unfortunately drive and create fuel to continue on. I would say come up with creative ideas on how you can get attention to what you want, pay attention to what's happening so that you can be part of the communication chain. There are certainly groups like coming together and they want to, there's an ask to do a meetup during the Disney Q4 2025 meeting that is happening on November 8th. So if you happen to be in Burbank or in New York, you can go and meet up people who want to see Ben Solo alive. They're primarily going to use it to meet each other and coordinate. So that's fun.
Yeah.
I'll definitely post a link to that site that tells more about what's happening with that. I don't expect the impact of this news to hit Disney Q4 results or even in the conversation as they talk about it, because Q4 is based on the end of September for Disney. So however Disney was doing and they at the end of September is all they're going to talk about.
Yeah, of course. And I imagine they screen the questions now after some of the dubious
ones
that have been shared publicly in the past.
Exactly.
I doubt anyone wanting to call up exclusively to scream about Hunt for Ben Solo, as much as I would personally love to do that and love to hear you. I doubt anyone doing that would get through. That would be so wonderful if they did. What someone would need to do, actually, is a legitimate plan, and no one should do this because it would just get them in trouble, is you should call up and have like a really boring corporate question about, we noticed some worrying trends.
Gambling in Disneyland?
How can you explain that? So tell that to the screener, and then immediately when you put it through, be like, how could you? We want Hunt for Ben Solo, what's wrong with you? And just have like a total freak out. But yeah, no. Wouldn't reflect well, so don't actually do that. But I would just find that funny. because I like to see these people humiliated. This is what they deserve.
Yeah, like the AGM is always so boring, but then there's the questions about gambling in Disneyland and stuff like that come up. Yeah.
I feel like that's the spice of my life. That would be the only reason to tune in. Otherwise, it's just going to be like...
No, sometimes they're super interesting for me personally, like talking about the ethics behind the board and like how they're supporting bad political parties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like sometimes they're super interesting. Yeah. I have one Disney share that I use to attend the AGM every year.
Excellent. That's very savvy. I like that.
My one Disney share has lost money in the last couple of weeks, so...
I can think of a few reasons, but especially one big one.
One Ben Solo shaped one, maybe.
Broad-shouldered, gorgeous reason. Yes. But yeah, I endorse everything Marie-Claire was saying about steps people should take. And like, I'm always like a big advocate for channeling like feelings about these sorts of projects into like creative endeavors. So again, keep up the beautiful art, keep up the wonderful writing, keep donating to things like the Hunt for Ben Solo fundraiser for Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. Just keep on trying to channel those energies into positive actions that can make both the fandom and the world a better place, because I think that's incredibly important. And yeah, just keep up the good fight, because I'm right alongside you. I'm not always a super frequent blue skyer, although I have been recently because of this situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to keep up the momentum myself, because I don't think we should let it flag, or let the steam run out, because it's all about keeping that momentum going. So to quote Leia from The Last Jedi, hope is like the sun. If you only believe it when you see it, you'll never make it through the night. So take those words to heart, guys. You got to keep that hope up even when you can't necessarily see it right in front of you. And I would say there's a lot of reasons to see hope in this situation, so you don't even need to invent it, but stay strong.
And with that, thank you, Rachel, for coming on What the Force. You're welcome back anytime. Seriously.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, I'm just me holding up this podcast. No, I have amazing collaborators that I work with on a regular basis. But
amazing,
Rachel, anytime you want to come back, I'm open to it. We had one of the best panels at a Star Wars celebration, specifically about Reylo.
Amazing. We made it happen. We took a little dream and we made it real. So I love that for us. Yeah.
Rachel, where can people find you if they're looking for you online?
So on Blue Sky, people can find me at Rachel1918. And if people want to check out the historic backlog, which consists of 200 wonderful episodes, covering almost every conceivable facet of Reylo and other Star Wars things, because we ran the whole gamut and talked about a whole bunch of stuff. But you can listen to me and Kirsty talk about all kinds of wonderful things by just looking up the Scavengers Horde podcast, which is available in all the usual podcasting places. And yeah, just before I sign off, Marie-Claire, I just want to say thank you very much for having me. This has obviously been the first time I've podcasted in a long while, since the last one I did was with Kirsty for Scavengers Horde. And I've enjoyed it very much. So thank you for being such a wonderful host and for putting together the notes and for the work you will do in the future with editing this. So yeah, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed it and I would love to come back one day. So thank you for the offer and I'll let you know when I have more to say.
Amazing. Thank you everyone for listening and cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Our orchestral music is by Christy Carew for What the Force. You can support the show directly on Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We would like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force. Christian R., Adrian, Sarah Joy, Scott, John, In Wild Space, Minky Moo, Derek C., How Rude, Christian Luca, Carly Ann, and Scott C. Support the show by wearing the Force with our merch. Like and subscribe on YouTube, or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other pod apps. It helps people find the show. You can connect with us on Blue Sky at WT Force, What the Force Podcast on Facebook, or on our website at whattheforce.ca, or our Discord. Links are in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.